We start tonight with a potential rise in your grocery bill. Californians could soon be paying more if new legislation gets the green light in Sacramento. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee.
And I'm Steve Price. In tonight for Carla Chiquetto. That warning is coming from the state's grocers, who say that a new bill regulating self-checkout stations would increase costs for consumers. But supporters of the legislation say it would improve working conditions for employees.
CBS 8's Richard Allen is here with more on this bill and the compromise that grocers are now asking for. Richard?
And Steve and Marcella, that compromise that grocery stores are now asking for is to allow alcohol sales through self-checkout. That's something that every other state in the country already permits.
We already pay the highest prices in the country. And so we need to be talking about how to bring those prices down. And this is the type of legislation that year after year makes grocery prices rise.
Senate Bill 442 would place stricter regulations on grocery and drugstores that offer self-checkout, requiring a dedicated employee to staff the self-checkout stations, while also mandating stores also separately staff at least one manual checkout station. Self-checkout customers would also be restricted from purchasing more than 15 items, although it's unclear how that would be enforced.
Let's put in some common sense safeguards that help to protect the consumer, that help to protect workers.
State Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, who authored this legislation, says it would not only improve conditions for workers, but would also crack down on retail theft.
It's about supporting our workforce to make sure that they're safe, but mostly to also make sure that they're providing the level of service that customers expect and deserve. There's nothing in this bill that is calling for increasing prices.
But critics of the bill say that these stricter requirements surrounding self-checkout would lead to stores hiring more staff.
When you're adding to a grocer's operational costs at the razor-thin profit margins they're operating at, that will translate to higher prices on grocery store shelves.
As a potential bargaining chip, grocers have asked to be allowed to sell alcohol through self-checkout. Currently, California is the only state that completely bans the sale of all types of alcohol at self-checkout stations.
If you sell a little bit more, that changes the math of some of these regulations, right? So I think, we're not trying to be the first state in the country to sell alcohol through self-checkout. We would be the last. And so that is something that shoppers bring up to us.
And many shoppers see it as a convenience that they currently don't have here in the Golden State.
They're checking the ID and they have proper regulations in place. And yeah, why not?
As long as it's consistent with the safety mechanisms so that there is a checkout person there or somebody checking an ID so that our children are not going through there and sneaking it. I think that's appropriate for business.
But Senator Smallwood Cuevas has made it very clear that that is not a compromise she would consider making, saying in a statement that allowing alcohol through self-checkout poses significant risks to our communities, particularly to young people.
Richard, was there a similar legislation that almost passed last year? It sounds familiar.
That's right. Absolutely. That was Senate Bill 1446, very similar to this, but it was actually more restrictive. It would have required, for example, an employee for every 2 self-checkout stations. So much more restrictive than this kind of more watered down version. So supporters this time around are hoping that because it's a little less restrictive, that it will actually pass.
Certainly keeping alcohol out of the hands of minors is important, but where does the legislation now go from here?
Well, the state Senate has already passed it. Now it goes to the Assembly's Appropriations Committee. From there, then it would go on to the full Assembly. And if the Assembly passes it, then the governor would have to sign it into law. And it's still up in the air, though, whether Governor Newsom would sign it.
All right. We'll be watching and waiting.
We will, yeah.
Thanks so much, Richard.
Thank you.